Chicago, a city that rises from the edge of Lake Michigan, its silhouette etched against the morning sky. The city's skyline, deep dish pizza and blues music are iconic, drawing visitors from around the world. These are the images that fill postcards and travel guides, promising adventure and culture at every turn. But beneath the postcard image lies a harsher reality, one that's easy to overlook amid the city's energy and excitement. In autumn 2025, a quieter story unfolds, one of homelessness, seen in the faces of families on the L and people huddled in doorways as the leaves turn and the air grows cold. The city's resilience is tested by a growing crisis that can't be ignored. Each day, more Chicagoans find themselves struggling to stay warm, to find a safe place to sleep, to hold on to hope. The grandeur of landmarks stands in stark contrast to the suffering on the streets. Tourists snap photos at the Bean, while just steps away, someone wonders where they'll spend the night. This is the other Chicago, where the struggle for shelter is daily and urgent, and where the line between stability and crisis is razor thin. It's not just about numbers, but about people. Families on the edge. Parents doing everything they can to protect their children from the uncertainty that shadows each day. Children whose playgrounds are shelter hallways, whose laughter echoes in spaces meant for waiting, not for living. Chicago is at a crossroads, its promise challenged by deep inequality. The gap between wealth and want is visible on every block, in every neighborhood. This is a story of struggle, but also of hope. A city fighting to reclaim its soul, where neighbors reach out to help, and where compassion still finds a way. Let's look beyond the postcard and see the real Chicago, the city of big shoulders and even bigger hearts, determined to rise together. A traveler arriving in Chicago is dazzled by the city's energy and beauty, but the journey from airport to hotel reveals a different reality. Encampments under overpasses, families sharing meals on benches, people pushing carts of belongings. These are not just passing sights, they are Chicagoans, living in the city's margins. The contrast is jarring, prosperity inside, hardship outside. Sightseeing becomes complicated when public spaces are also someone's only refuge. The traveler walks through two Chicagos, the one they came to see, and the one they can't ignore. The presence of the unhoused is a silent rebuke to the city's narrative of success. It forces visitors to confront uncomfortable questions about inequality. Chicago's beauty is real, but so is its crisis. The numbers are stark. Chicago is facing a crisis that is both visible and hidden in plain sight. In January 2025, more than 7,150 people in the city were counted as living without a permanent home, a number that only hints at the true scale of the problem, as many go uncounted or move between temporary arrangements. While the number of migrants in shelters has dropped, homelessness among longtime Chicagoans has surged by a staggering 38% in just 1 year, a shift that's changing the face of the crisis. People like Michael, a former construction worker who once built the city's skyline, now find themselves without shelter after a single setback, an injury, a lost job, or an unexpected bill. "I never thought this would be me," he says quietly. "One bit of bad luck, and you're out here." His story is echoed by thousands across the city, each with their own turning point. The face of homelessness is getting younger. Children now make up nearly a third of the unhoused, growing up in shelters and temporary spaces instead of stable homes. Families like the Jacksons, displaced by rising rents and stagnant wages, now call shelters home, struggling to maintain a sense of normalcy for their kids. The safety nets that once protected working families and seniors have frayed, leaving many vulnerable to even the smallest financial shock. Homelessness is no longer confined to the margins. It's hitting the mainstream, affecting people from all walks of life. Students, workers, and retirees alike. The crisis is a quiet unraveling, affecting people who once felt secure, now forced to make impossible choices between rent, food, and medicine. And it's not just about statistics, it's about neighbors, families, and futures at risk, as entire communities feel the strain. The problem is growing, and the city's social fabric is under strain, with more people seeking help than ever before. Chicago's housing crisis is everyone's crisis, a challenge that demands attention, compassion, and action from us all. Homelessness in Chicago is inseparable from the city's deep racial divides. The city's neighborhoods, shaped by decades of policy and prejudice, tell a story of opportunity denied and hardship imposed. The faces and streets of Chicago reflect a history that continues to shape lives today. Black residents, who make up less than 29% of the city's population, are disproportionately affected, comprising over half of those in shelters, and a staggering 70% of those living unsheltered. These numbers are not just statistics, they represent real people, families, and futures at risk. This is the legacy of redlining, disinvestment, and systemic injustice. For generations, discriminatory policies have carved invisible lines through the city, determining who could thrive and who would struggle. Generations of black families were denied opportunities to build wealth and stability. Home ownership, a cornerstone of security, was systematically withheld, leaving families vulnerable to cycles of poverty and displacement. Today, rising costs and ongoing neglect are pushing longtime residents like Brenda from their homes. Neighborhoods once filled with hope now face uncertainty, as affordable housing becomes harder to find. "This was my home," she says, "but everything got so expensive, and there was no help." Brenda's story is echoed by countless others who feel abandoned by a system that should protect them. The crisis is especially harsh for black children, whose risk of homelessness is far higher than their white peers. For these children, instability is not just a moment, it's a daily reality that shapes their futures. Early instability has lifelong consequences, impacting education, health, and opportunity. Without a stable home, children struggle to learn, grow, and dream, facing barriers that can last a lifetime. The racial disparity in homelessness is a moral failing at the city's core. It is a challenge that demands not just awareness, but urgent action and collective responsibility. It's not just a statistic, it's a call to action. Every Chicagoan has a role to play in building a more just and equitable city. Chicago's future depends on confronting this injustice. Together, we can create a city where everyone has a place to call home. At the heart of the crisis is a brutal equation: not enough affordable homes. Chicago faces a shortage of over 126,000 affordable rentals for its lowest-income residents. Rents soar while wages stagnate, leaving families in desperate competition for too few units. Building new affordable housing has become nearly impossible. Costs have doubled in 5 years, now topping $750,000 per unit. Projects like Encuentro Square and Fifth City Commons show the staggering price tag. Construction inflation, complex regulations, and endless red tape drive costs higher. The result? A bottleneck, with only a trickle of new units when a flood is needed. Public subsidies are stretched thin, and regulations meant to ensure quality now block progress. Until the city changes this equation, the gap will only grow. The math of housing in Chicago is broken, and people pay the price. Chicago's leaders are taking action, recognizing that old approaches aren't enough. The One System initiative unifies shelter networks, streamlining placement and resources, yet hundreds of single adults still seek shelter daily. Mayor Johnson's cut-the-tape plan targets bureaucracy, aiming to speed up and lower the cost of building affordable housing. The city is piloting modular homes and legalizing accessory dwelling units to boost supply. The Green Social Housing Plan funds sustainable, permanently affordable projects. A $1.25 billion city bond provides crucial funding, but federal support is shrinking. Local efforts are undermined by national cuts, making progress hard-won. The fight for housing is a struggle against both local barriers and shifting federal priorities. Every step forward is vital, but the challenge remains immense. Official counts miss the hidden crisis. Tens of thousands more are doubled up, living in unstable conditions. Homelessness isn't distant, it threatens many. The single mother, the senior, the young worker. Their struggles are real, even if not counted. Solving this crisis requires more than policy. It demands empathy. We must see the unhoused as neighbors, not nuisances, and listen to their stories. A city's greatness is measured by how it cares for its most vulnerable. Yet, hope persists. In outreach, workers, community centers, and bold new initiatives. Chicago's spirit is resilient. It knows how to face challenges and build a better future. The journey begins with seeing, caring, and believing that housing is a right. The path is long, But every act of empathy brings us closer. Chicago's story is still being written by all of us.